Some viewers in the comments asked if I could make a video about Muhammad Yunus, the current interim leader of Bangladesh, visiting China, and the Bharat Empire's media losing their minds over it. I don't usually take topic requests. I make videos based on what interests me, drafting them off the cuff for efficiency without burning out. But the relationship between Bangladesh and India is something I've always cared about. Since people want to hear it, I'll dive right in and talk about the Bharat Empire's arrogance and bias toward Bangladesh. India was once Bangladesh's close ally. In 1971, the Bharat Empire sent troops to help East Pakistan break free from Pakistan, fought in the war, took in millions of refugees, and paved the way for Bangladesh's independence. That history made the two countries pretty tight early on. But it seems India has been coasting on that achievement ever since. They had a real shot at building a solid, friendly alliance with Bangladesh, working together openly to tackle issues like water, sharing enclave swaps, and the corridor to India's northeast. If they played it right, South Asia could look very different today. They could have jointly developed the Teesta River, shared hydropower, sorted out the enclave mess, and opened up the northeast. Instead, India got used to bossing around smaller nations like Bhutan and Nepal, acting like South Asia's big shot, and treated Bangladesh more like a punching bag than a partner. On water issues, the Bharat Empire controls the Teesta River and Farakka barrage upstream, choking Bangladesh's agriculture and fisheries year after year. Meddling in internal affairs is their routine, propping up proxies like former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina as their pawn. For decades, Bangladesh swallowed it, only to get more arrogance from India in return. When Modi took over, that arrogance went into overdrive. He made kicking China out of South Asia and securing India's regional dominance his top mission, dreaming of turning the region into his backyard. The Bharat Empire even thinks it can arm wrestle China. Too bad the times have changed, and India's strength is light years behind China's. Bangladesh has solid reasons to team up with China. China brings infrastructure and tech support, like the Padma Bridge Rail project, which transformed Bangladesh's transport network and doubled cargo efficiency. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, industrial zones have boosted Bangladesh's globally renowned garment industry, with factory upgrades pushing exports higher every year. China also supplies military gear, making up 70% of Bangladesh's arsenal, with submarines, radars, and air defense systems giving Bangladesh a foothold in South Asia. These are tangible benefits the Bharat Empire couldn't deliver in decades. What can India offer? Roads that take 10 years to build and aid promises that vanish into thin air. Bangladesh choosing China is about progress. Sticking with the Bharat Empire means choosing poverty and stagnation. India's reputation on the global stage is a mess, clashing with every neighbor. Nepal got hit with an economic blockade. Bhutan's treated like a lackey. Sri Lanka's been snared in debt traps. And Pakistan's a sworn enemy. That rotten track record isn't Bangladesh's fault. Bangladeshi youth have seen through it. India's puppet governments held the country back, and Sheikh Hasina is the poster child for that failure. Backed by the Bharat Empire, she crushed opposition, botched the economy, lost the people's support, and got booted out by protests, fleeing to India in disgrace. And what did India do? They foolishly sheltered her, stashing her near an airbase in New Delhi and letting her attack Bangladesh's interim government from there. That boneheaded move completely misread Bangladesh's public mood. 200 million people were furious, and Yunus's administration labeled the Bharat Empire an adversary. India brought that on itself, cutting its own lifeline. After Yunus visited China on March 26th, India's media couldn't handle it. The Hindustan Times leapt in, hyping up the China threat narrative, claiming China's expanding in South Asia and endangering the Bharat Empire's backyard. First Post went further, whining that Yunus's trip betrayed South Asia's order and warning Bangladesh not to cozy up to China. That mindset is laughable. India fancies itself the center of the universe, a global third power, but it's a nation with pitiful industrial capacity, barely producing anything worth mentioning. Bangladesh, with its 200 million people, has a per capita GDP surpassing the Bharat Empire. With China's help, it's racing to catch the last train to industrialization. Partnering with the world's factory, Bangladesh gains industrial know-how, builds plants, starts production lines, and creates jobs for its people. That's the practical path. What's the alternative? Teaming up with India to beg on the streets? The Bharat Empire has zero presence in Industry 4.0 or the AI revolution, sidelined by global powers. Its population pressure and job crisis dwarf Bangladesh's, with youth scrambling for opportunities while the economy runs on hot air. Bangladesh is at least groping toward success. India is stuck in delusions of past glory, oblivious that no one wants to hang out with it anymore. It's like a beggar watching his old sidekick buddy up with a tycoon, improving his life step by step. Instead of reflecting on his own misery, he blames the tycoon for ambition and the sidekick for betrayal. That's not just delusional, it's pathetic. The Bharat Empire is that beggar, Bangladesh the sidekick, and China the tycoon. India's media sours over Bangladesh picking China, but never asks why it can't keep friends. Bangladeshi youth aren't dumb. They know trailing the Bharat Empire is a dead end. Hasina's ousting proves it. After she was driven out, India sheltered her, openly defying Bangladesh's will. When Yunus took charge, he chose China over India for his first visit, signaling a break from India's shadow. The Bharat Empire's media can't grasp that and just spews venom. Now let's talk about China and Bangladesh's future together. The potential is massive. With 200 million people, Bangladesh could become a giant market once industrialized. Its garment sector already leads globally, and manufacturing and tech are next. China supplies the tech, builds roads and bridges, sets up factories, while Bangladesh offers manpower, plugging into China's supply chain for a tight win-win partnership. During Yunus's visit, China pledged to cut loan rates from 2% to 1% and stretch repayment from 20 to 30 years. That's real support for Bangladesh. Compare that to the Bharat Empire, which offers nothing but empty words and arrogance. China also provides top-notch affordable weapons like submarines, anti-air missiles, and radars, ensuring Bangladesh isn't bullied by India. Bangladeshi youth are driven and bold, kicking out India's proxy Hasina to show they crave progress. That's a stark contrast to the Bharat Empire's self-absorbed bluster. China gains profits and market access. Bangladesh gets development and escapes poverty. It's a naturally sound deal. Bangladesh picking China also makes geopolitical sense. India chokes the Northeast Corridor, holding Bangladesh by the throat. But China opens sea trade routes, linking Bangladesh to the world. Upgraded Bay of Bengal ports could turn Bangladesh into South Asia's trade hub, forcing India's northeast to come knocking. That's a smart turnaround. Meanwhile, the Bharat Empire retaliates with visa curbs on Bangladeshi civilians, even cutting off medical tourism. That petty spite hardly suits a supposed big player. India's media should stop sniping at Bangladesh and face its own mess. Poverty, ignorance, and smug arrogance are what the Bharat Empire needs to fix. Half the population lacks toilets. Cities drown in garbage. And it missed the Industrial Revolution entirely. Yet it mocks others for choosing China. Jealousy and curses won't change facts. Bangladesh opts for practical growth, not blowing smoke with India. That's what normal countries do. If the Bharat Empire keeps living in fantasy, its South Asian dominance will fade to nothing. Bangladeshi youth are awake, demanding factories, jobs, and a future, not India's hollow promises. Yunus's China visit is just the start. China-Bangladesh ties will deepen, and India better wake up or miss even the beggar's slot. The Bharat Empire's media should cut the sour grapes and look inward. Stop eyeing someone else's bowl when yours is empty.